dramatic and dramatically negative. That's how Jake Sullivan, our former national security advisor, described what could happen if we don't handle this AI thing, right? And he wasn't talking about robots taking over the world or anything. His concerns are much more grounded in reality. You sent over this Axios interview with him where he kind of lays it all out, and honestly, it's a bit unsettling. So to understand just how big a deal this is, we have to go beyond the buzzwords like AI arms race and really dig into the specifics.
What's really striking about Sullivan's take is that he compares this moment in AI development to pivotal points in history, like the advent of atomic weapons, space exploration, even the internet. But here's the catch. Those were largely spearheaded by governments. AI is primarily being developed by private companies.
And that completely changes the game, right? We're not talking about some government agency controlling the development and deployment of AI. We're talking about Google, Meta, OpenAI, these tech giants with resources and influence on a global scale.
Exactly. Sullivan's point is that these companies wield power that rivals or perhaps even surpasses nation-states in some ways. Their decisions about AI development could have far-reaching consequences, and traditional mechanisms of government oversight simply aren't equipped to handle this new reality.
He paints a pretty stark picture of what could go wrong. He specifically mentions the risks of weaponization, massive job displacement, and a flood of AI-generated misinformation. These aren't just theoretical risks, are they?
Not at all. Let's take the example of weaponization. Imagine autonomous weapons powered by AI capable of making life-or-death decisions without human intervention. If these fall into the wrong hands, the consequences could be devastating. It's a scenario straight out of a sci-fi thriller, but it's a very real concern that security experts are grappling with.
And then there's the issue of jobs. We've all heard about automation replacing certain tasks, but with AI, it's not just blue-collar jobs at risk. It's potentially entire industries being reshaped or even disappearing as AI becomes more sophisticated. I can see how this could lead to widespread unemployment and social unrest if we don't manage this transition carefully.
Absolutely. And it raises a whole host of questions about how we prepare our workforce for an AI-driven future. Do we need to rethink our education systems? Should we explore solutions like universal basic income to address potential mass unemployment? These are complex societal and economic challenges that we can't ignore.
Now, let's not forget about the potential for AI to completely distort our information ecosystem. We've already seen the damage that misinformation and deepfakes can do, and AI could supercharge this problem. Imagine a world where you can't tell what's real and what's fabricated because AI can create incredibly convincing fakes of anything. It's a recipe for chaos and distrust on a massive scale.
That's one of the most insidious aspects of AI. It has the potential to undermine our very understanding of truth and reality. It's not just about job losses or military applications. It's about the erosion of trust in information, in institutions, and in each other. And that's a deeply concerning prospect.
Sullivan doesn't shy away from highlighting the U.S.-China rivalry in all of this.
Yeah.
Especially when talking about managing the risks of AI. He actually argues that it's the defining challenge of our time, saying nothing else matters if we don't get this right.
The rivalry between the U.S. and China is certainly a crucial aspect of this discussion. Axios reports that the Biden administration is laser-focused on limiting China's access to advanced AI technology, particularly by restricting their access to high-end semiconductors.
Well, that seems pretty significant. What's the big deal about these chips, and why are they so central to AI development?
Think of semiconductors as the brains of AI systems. They're specialized microchips that power the complex computations required for AI to function. The more advanced the chip, the more powerful and capable the AI. So controlling access to the most advanced chips is a strategic move to try and maintain an edge in the AI arms race. It's like trying to limit the other side's access to the most powerful weapons in a traditional arms race.
So it's all about maintaining technological superiority.
It's certainly a major factor, but Sullivan's argument goes beyond just competition. He also calls for cooperation with China on developing a global framework for AI governance. It seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? Compete fiercely in the technological arena, but also cooperate on setting global standards and regulations.
That does seem like a delicate balancing act. How could such a framework even work in practice? And are there any historical precedents for something like this?
It's definitely uncharted territory, but there are historical parallels we can draw upon. Think about the nuclear arms race. During the Cold War, the US and Soviet Union engaged in fierce competition, but they also recognized the shared existential threat posed by nuclear weapons. This led to a series of arms control treaties aimed at limiting the proliferation and potential use of these devastating weapons.
So you're saying that a global AI framework could function similarly to nuclear arms control treaties, establishing rules and limitations on AI development to mitigate the risks while still allowing for some level of competition.
Exactly. It would require a tremendous amount of international cooperation and trust, but the stakes are so high that it's worth exploring. Sullivan envisions a framework that might include things like shared safety protocols for AI development limitations on the development of certain types of AI, particularly those with potentially dangerous military applications, and even joint research initiatives to foster collaboration on AI safety and ethics.
That's a pretty ambitious vision. And it's hard to imagine the US and China with all their current tensions coming together on something this complex. But I guess the alternative, letting this AI arms race spiral out of control, is too risky to contemplate.
Exactly. The potential consequences of unfettered AI development are simply too great to ignore. It's a global challenge that transcends national borders, and it demands a global response.
It's interesting to contrast this approach with how the Trump administration handled its relationship with the tech industry, especially regarding AI. You mentioned earlier that Trump had close personal ties with tech CEOs like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
How did those relationships influence his approach to AI development and regulation?
Trump's approach was decidedly different from Biden's. While Biden seems to be focused on managing the risks of AI and establishing international guardrails, Trump took a more hands-off approach, emphasizing American innovation and competition. Remember that even TikTok's CEO was given a prominent spot at Trump's inauguration. It highlights the complex interplay between technology politics and global power dynamics.
So rather than trying to regulate or control AI development, Trump seemed to be betting on the American tech industry to out-innovate and out-compete China in the AI arena.
That seems to be the case. His administration largely deferred to the tech industry on AI development, seeing it as a key driver of economic growth and national security. This close collaboration between the Trump administration and the tech sector raised concerns among some who worried that it gave too much power to these companies and didn't adequately address the potential risks of unfettered AI development.
And then we have someone like Steve Bannon, who was a key figure in the Trump administration, expressing concerns about AI's potential to kill jobs and negatively impact Trump's own voter base. That seems like a pretty stark contrast to the generally pro-innovation stance of the tech industry.
Yeah.
How did Bannon's perspective factor into the Trump administration's overall approach to AI?
Bannon's concerns highlight a key tension at the heart of the AI debate: the potential for technological progress to come at the expense of certain segments of society. While AI promises to revolutionize industries and boost productivity, it also has the potential to displace workers and exacerbate existing inequalities. Bannon, with his focus on the working class, was particularly attuned to this potential downside of AI.
So even within the Trump administration, there were differing viewpoints on AI and its potential impact on the American workforce. It seems like this tension between technological advancement and its potential societal costs is a fundamental challenge we're going to have to grapple with as AI becomes more integrated into our lives.
Absolutely. It's not a simple equation. We can't just ignore the potential economic and social disruptions that AI might bring about. We need to find ways to harness the power of AI for good while mitigating its potential negative consequences. It requires careful planning, thoughtful policies, and a willingness to adapt to a rapidly changing technological landscape.
That's a tall order, especially in our current political climate where there's so much division and disagreement on almost everything. It feels like we're at a crossroads with these incredibly powerful technologies emerging at a time when our ability to manage them collectively is being tested.
It's a daunting challenge, no doubt, but I think it's also an incredibly exciting time to be alive. We're witnessing a technological revolution unfold before our very eyes, and we have the opportunity to shape its trajectory. It's up to us to decide what kind of future we want to create with AI, and that starts with having these difficult conversations, grappling with the complex issues, and demanding that our leaders prioritize responsible AI development that benefits all of humanity.
Sullivan's warning about the catastrophic potential of AI was definitely a wake-up call, but it wasn't meant to instill fear or paralyze us. It was a call to action, a reminder that we have the power to shape the future of AI. And that starts with informed engagement, critical thinking, and a commitment to building a future where technology serves humanity, not the other way around.
That's a powerful message, and it's one we should all take to heart. This isn't just a conversation for tech experts or policymakers. It's a conversation we all need to be a part of because the future of AI is ultimately the future of humanity.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the AI arms race, let's leave our listener with this. What role do you want to play in shaping the future of AI? It's a question worth pondering and one that will have profound implications for generations to come.
It really is a question we all need to ask ourselves. The choices we make today, both individually and collectively, will determine the course of AI development and its impact on our world.
Yeah, it can feel overwhelming though, right? Like where do we even begin to wrap our heads around something this complex and rapidly evolving? It's not like we can all become AI experts overnight.
You don't have to be an expert to have an informed opinion or to make your voice heard. I think a good starting point is to simply become more aware of how AI is already being used in our daily lives. Think about the algorithms that curate your social media, feeds the facial recognition software used for security, the voice assistants in our homes. These are all examples of AI at work, and they're already shaping our experiences and influencing our decisions.
Oh, that's a great point. Maybe by starting with the familiar with the ways AI is already touching our lives, we can start to demystify it a bit and engage with the bigger questions in a more grounded way.
Exactly. Once you start seeing AI not as this abstract futuristic concept, but as a tangible force that's already shaping our world, it becomes easier to engage with the ethical, social, and political dimensions of its development.
And maybe that's also how we can bridge the gap between the tech experts and the rest of us. We need more open dialogue, more accessible information, and more opportunities for people from all walks of life to contribute to this conversation.
I couldn't agree more. This isn't just a conversation for Silicon Valley or for politicians in Washington. It's a conversation that needs to happen in classrooms, in community centers, around dinner tables. We need to democratize the discussion about AI and ensure that everyone has a voice in shaping its future.
So to bring this all back to where we started, Sullivan's warning about the catastrophic potential of AI wasn't meant to scare us into inaction. It was a call to action, an urgent plea to recognize the stakes and to engage with this issue before it's too late.
Precisely. We have a window of opportunity to shape the trajectory of AI development to ensure that it serves humanity's best interests. But that window is closing rapidly, and we need to act with both urgency and wisdom.
So as we conclude this deep dive, let's leave our listener with a final thought. The future of AI is not predetermined. It's a future that we are actively creating with each choice we make, each conversation we have, each action we take.
Let's choose wisely, engage thoughtfully, and demand a future where AI is a force for good in the world. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.